up? This is the Splash City Basketball Podcast. Excited to be joining you for another week, another episode. This week's episode, we'll talk about the Gophers Intrasquad Scrimmage that took place Saturday, October 11th. And I got a fun new segment this time called The Great Takes, playing off the Great Lakes. We'll be talking about different things each segment. The Great Takes this week, we'll be exploring basketball, in-game, food, concession stand items. I brought in a couple of special guests this week to talk through that. So hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, please share this with your basketball-loving friends. Love to get more listeners. Love to get your feedback. Leave a review. So with that, let's get into it. This is the Splash City Basketball Podcast. All right, I took my son and two of his buddies along with me to the Gopher Maroon and Gold Scrimmage. This was our first chance to look at Niko Medved and his new roster in Dinkytown. And it was, a decent actually crowd. They strategically placed it before the homecoming football game. So it was homecoming. Dinkytown was very busy. Obviously, a lot of people going for the football game at 6:30 versus Purdue. And so they had the scrimmage beforehand so people could stop by, check out the team beforehand. They had some free autograph signings with the players after the scrimmage. But I want to start with what stood out to me. There's been, I would say a lot of fan frustration through the years with offense and how that looks and what they're running. And last year's team was a lot of, I would say like isolation, a lot of fake motion, just trying to get Dawson Garcia some shots. And one thing I definitely noticed here is that the Gophers are going to use the middle of the floor. Niko's offense spreads you out. They put their corner shooters they put their shooters in the corners, but a lot of action runs through the middle. And it starts with high post entries to their bigs. They got to be better ball handlers and passers. Talking about Dawson Garcia, this probably would have been an ideal offense for him. Anyway, they're gonna use the middle of the floor more. They're gonna keep the baseline open, the paint open for cuts, for attacks, and that was pretty evident. That was probably the most obvious difference. And this offense, they're gonna definitely need Jalen Crocker-Johnson, Robert Vihola, and Nehemiah Turner to handle the ball, to be passers. They have to kind of facilitate from the top of the key at times. So I think Jalen Crocker-Johnson definitely is that guy. He's pretty versatile. He's got some skills. We'll talk more about individual players later, but that's going to be a hallmark of the offense. They definitely have more of an identity with this offense, and it's a scrimmage, right? So inter-squad, how much of it is the offense? How much of it is maybe defense or lack thereof or what have you? I mean, it's always tough to tell, and we'll learn more later. But you could see that there are shots that they want, and there are shots that they're going to get. I think Medved's proven that through his time, every level he's coached at, every team he's coached at, they're able to get the shots that they want. There's going to be a lot more off-ball movement, which I love. I think most basketball fans would love to see. We saw a couple backdoor cuts, which was really exciting. They run a little bit of like kind of what I guess you might call it like a split action, where the two wings, they kind of set up in almost a triangle. So they get the post and they get two wings and they are just reading each other, reading the defense. So one might slip, one might back cut, they might screen, they might do a dribble handoff. So that action looks a little bit like the Warriors type of stuff that they run. A lot of teams are kind of doing that in the NBA, and I think it's great because that is something that if you have shooters, you want. And I think they tried to build this roster around more shooting. So those were kind of my just overall takeaways. Because both teams were running the same offense, it was kind of hard to tell defensively what they were doing. I know they're gonna probably struggle a little bit with rim protection. They just don't have a ton of size. Nehemiah Turner's a huge body, but he's not necessarily an athletic shot blocker. So they're going to have to really contain the ball, force some tough shots, and rebound as a team. And that's just kind of the makeup of this roster right now. And, it could be successful. We'll see once they get into some tougher opponents during the season here. A couple of guys that stood out to me. I mentioned this in a couple episodes ago about Cade Tyson kind of being my, I don't know, sleeper player for the Gophers this year. Um, he looked good. I'd say he stood out. He's big, athletic. He has kind of an NBA body because if you've, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, his brother plays for the Nuggets and they have similar body types. He's 6'7", 6'8", strong. He scored in multiple ways. He was shooting. He was able to get some threes. He actually got fouled on one. He can get to the bucket. He can play down low, post up bigger guys. Got to the free throw line a lot. He definitely looked more like the guy who was all conference. I think it was Belmont before transferring last year to UNC, where he hardly got any minutes. So really, really impressed with Cade Tyson. I think he's probably, I don't know if he's their best overall scorer, but he's might be their best overall player. I want to talk a little bit about each position. So let's talk about the guards. First, we'll talk about Isaac Asama, the only returning player who had minutes last year. And I thought his shot looks more consistent. You know, last year he shot 35% from three, which isn't bad for a freshman by any means. But at times it was maybe one of them would go in and then he'd have two that were not really that close. And he definitely looked comfortable and more consistent. He did looks to me like he bulked up a little bit, got a little bit bigger, a little stronger. And they'll need that. Like he needs to, even as a freshman last year, he was guarding some of the Big Ten's best guards. And I think they'll need that again. You know, this year I'm thinking like Jeremy Fears, Bruce Thornton, who's an older, very strong player, Elliot Cadeau, who's maybe not as strong, but super fast, gets down the floor, pushes pace. And then Donovan Dent coming over from New Mexico. He'll be at UCLA this year, and he'll definitely be one of one of the top guards in the Big Ten. So they'll need Asama's defense, probably more so than offense, but he averaged 5.6 points and 3 rebounds a game last year coming off the bench. My expectation is those will both go up. I don't think he'll be probably top 2 or 3 scorer on this team, but he is going to help on the rebounding side for sure. Kai Shinholster, freshman, he actually looked pretty comfortable, I would say. It wasn't an overwhelming performance. Like nothing really stood out. He didn't make a ton of wow plays, but he's 6'5". He's one of the few guards who are a little bit more lanky. Reynolds is a 6'4", very strong. Asama 6'3", pretty strong built. And Chancey Willis Jr. is about 6'2", pretty well put together. But Shinholster's kind of more of that lanky 6'5" guard. He didn't really make any terrible like mistakes. I didn't see anything that stood out and was like, oh, he doesn't look ready or he's not physically there. He looks like he can play. I just don't know where he would fit in at this point. His shot was a little flat, which could be just, first kind of playing in front of a crowd at the Big Ten level. But, we'll see how he comes along. I could see him being kind of the fourth guard there. And maybe that in the non-conference schedule, maybe he gets more minutes and gets more comfortable as he grows. Other guards, Chancey Willis Jr., best scorer on the team. I think people kind of knew that going in, that he was probably the biggest transfer portal get for Niko Medved. He scored at all 3 levels. He looked really good, had some flashy finishes, knocked down some shots, hit a mid-range, hit some floaters. He's going to be the floor general. He's probably going to need to score 12 to 15 points a game for the Gophers this year, which he probably will have that opportunity. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. But he did distribute too. He had a couple nice dishes. He drove baseline, hit Bobby Durkin on a cut down the slot. So, I mean, Willis Jr. is going to be, I think he's comfortably in that starting lineup and definitely going to be the main guy for the Gophers when they need a bucket. Lastly, Langston Reynolds, from the guard standpoint, similar physicality to Asama, but less of a shooter. He wants to get downhill. He wants to get to the bucket. He had some strong finishes, like going through guys. I didn't see him bringing the ball up too much, but I could see him being, again, another physical rebounding guard. And so he'll be a nice complement to Asama. So my assumption is that they'll have a 3 guard rotation with Willis Jr. and Asama starting probably, then Reynolds comes in, and then maybe you have Asama run the point. But those three will rotate for sure in some capacity. Let's talk about the wings. So I did see a lot of good things, kind of what I expected, I guess, out of the wings. I mentioned Tyson already, looked really comfortable. Bobby Durkin is going to be, mostly a spot up shooter, though. Like I said, he did get a nice diagonal cut and finish. He's not as quick or as athletic as Tyson, but he is a guy that they're looking to run sets for. There's a couple nice plays they ran for him, maybe even after timeouts. I kind of can't remember how the setup was with the scrimmage, but he can shoot it. When he was open, he knocked them down, and that's what this team desperately needs. They needed it last year. The bonus for the Gophers is that Durkin's 6'7". He's a little bit older guy. He's played at Davidson, so he's played in the Atlantic 10 conference, which will be huge. The other guy on the wing was BJ Elmott. You can tell he can score. He's an okay shooter. He missed a couple, but it's one scrimmage. He didn't look, I would say, completely comfortable yet. He hasn't played in a long time. He was off. I think he played like 4 games last year for Cal before he got hurt. He might struggle with these more physical defenders. He is of the 3 wings, he's probably the thinnest, but he's 6'8". He's long. I could see him being a hot cold scorer. So depending on a matchup, depending on the game, he might drop 20, and then the next game he might be at 6 or something like that. So, but I think what I notice about this team is it looks like they have about 9 guys. All of them can contribute. They're rotation players out of the gate. And you have guys like Willis who can score you 20. Asama could probably get you 12 to 15 on any given night. Reynolds can score on, just on transition and rebounds. Durkin can hit 3 or 4 threes in a game. Tyson can get you 20. So they have multiple guys. And I think that's might be the theme of the team this year is like next man up or different game, different guy kind of being the go-to just based on matchups. So just like the guards where they have Asama, Reynolds, and Willis, I think at the wing position, they're going to have Durkin, Tyson, and Omot rotating through those 3-4 positions. And then at the bigs, start with Robert Viola. He is exactly kind of what I thought he'd be, right? He's tough. He's physical. He has a really good offensive rebounding rate. Viola, he's a decent passer. So, when they run that high post action, he's out there handling the ball. He looks comfortable. Again, older guy. He's played in the Mountain West. My guess is he will probably lead the team in rebounding this year unless minutes change or injuries happen. He's real active down low, especially on the offensive glass. Jalen Crocker-Johnson, he was one of the representatives at Big Ten Media Day. He's got the trust of Medved. He played for him at Colorado State last year. Started a lot of games. He looks, I would say, like the most skilled big. He's out there. He can handle the ball. He's dribbling. He's got a decent handle. He took some open threes, hit one right before a buzzer. I think one of the first 10-minute sessions, he hit one right as the buzzer sounded. Definitely the best passer and ball handler on the perimeter. He, knows Niko's system, having played in it. So last year he averaged only 21 minutes a game and did put in 9 points, 4.5 rebounds per game. If he can get 9 and 5 in the Big Ten, I think I'd take that. But he'll probably have to play closer to 30 minutes a game. So, if you can get him into double digits in scoring and get him above 5-6 rebounds a game, I think that's something that you'll definitely be happy with. Just knowing that the size and physicality, skill level of the Big Ten is a little bit elevated from the Mountain West. It's a great league, but the Big Ten is an absolute gauntlet. The other guy in the big rotation is Nehemiah Turner. He stood out just in his presence. He's a huge individual. I still think his development is key for the Gophers. He had some nice moves. He definitely has some skill for a guy his size. I think he's 6'10", 270. He went over his right shoulder, kind of got stopped and finished somehow with his right hand, which was a really nifty move. I'd love to see it again because it looked a little unorthodox, but it went in. he's going to be needed. And I think he's another one of those guys, like I've said already, depending on the game, depending on the matchup, he could get you 18 and 8. And then the next game, he might not play a whole lot because there's going to be some games where the speed and the opponent's style of play could dictate him not playing as much, where you need more. Maybe you might put Tyson at the 4 and Crocker Johnson at the 5, or Vaihola with Durkin at the 4 or something like that. So there could be different matchup issues, but he is probably the best low post scorer the Gophers have on the roster. He's the biggest person they have on the roster. The problem is he's not a shot blocker, and I think that's going to be a challenge for the Gophers, is they just don't have any rim protection right now. Like I said, 9 solid rotation players. I think you got the 3 guards, the 3 wings, and the 3 bigs. Where Shinholster fits in, I'm not sure. Maybe non-conference, you get him some run, get him comfortable, get him growing. The other one that was kind of a question mark is Grayson Grove, and we haven't talked about him, but he redshirt freshman from Alexandria. He was noticeably, I would like say objectively, the weakest of the 4 bigs, just physically. I think he needs another year. I'd like to see him get some run again in some of those non-conference games where he can play. That also saves some of your older guys from wear and tear. But I think once they get into the Big Ten season, or even probably the non-conference San Francisco, Missouri, Stanford matchups, I think it's going to be tough to play Grove right at this point. There were some physical plays out top where guys, these posts are supposed to handle the ball and kind of facilitate some things, and he would lose the ball, get it poked away. So, just learning things. This is his first minutes he's ever played. He was redshirt last year. So we'll see how his development goes. But right now, I don't think he's quite ready. All right. So just overall, like team question marks, let's look ahead. Given the general size of the Gophers front court, I think is going to be an issue. Overall size down low specifically. Illinois' got a couple 7-footers. Purdue's got All-American candidate Trey Kaufman-Renn. Michigan has serious size with Landenborg and all the other guys, transfers they brought in. The Gophers do not have a shot blocking presence on this roster. So they're really going to have to rely on their wing defense and their guard defense to keep things in front of them so they can just rebound. And they're going to have to rebound as a team, in my opinion. I think that's part of it. Is you're going to have guys like Vaihola, who's trying to block out Trey Kaufman-Renn, and you're going to hope that Tyson comes in, can snag a rebound, or Asama or Reynolds gets that rebound. They do have size at the other positions. I mean, their guards aren't tall, but I would say they're physically strong enough to handle. And even last year, you saw Asama hold up against some of the better guards in the Big Ten. Their wing defense, I don't know that they're athletic enough to hang with some of the wings in the Big Ten, but I think Tyson, Omat, Durkin should be okay most nights. I think of like Nick Martinelli at Northwestern, not overly athletic, but super smart, knows how to use his body, create space. Then there's guys like Cohen Carr who just are athletic freaks at Michigan State. I don't know if the Gophers have anybody that can guard him, or Chad Baker Mazzara, who transferred from Auburn to USC. So I think those guys could cause some issues, which they will for everybody. So I think overall, I do like the Gophers' ability to match up in probably 1 through 4, but the big guys, the guys that are 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet, I think will give them problems throughout the year, which, they'll have to scheme up. I think Niko traditionally doesn't have huge teams. I mean, David Roddy was a 4 for him, and he's about 6'6", but he's in the NBA now. So I think Medved has figured that out through the years. But Mountain West size is not Big Ten size. So we'll see what they can do with that. The other big concern kind of going into the year would be the shooting. When we walked in, there was a long stretch where nobody made a shot. First thought was like, oh man, you brought in these guys who were supposed to be shooters, and we're not making anything. But that did ease up as the scrimmage went on. Like I said earlier, Durkin, Asama, Tyson, and Willis all can make shots. I don't think there's any doubt that those 4 will probably lead them in 3-point attempts. Omat is an okay shooter as well. Jalen Crocker Johnson can knock down shots. I think overall their shooting has improved. If you got at any given time, 3 guys that can knock down open shots. I think that's enough. If you can do the other things, like can you get to the paint? Can you get offensive rebounds for kickouts? Those types of things. So I don't think shooting is as much a concern as it was during the Ben Johnson and Richard Pitino eras. Niko has historically found guys that can shoot the basketball. All right, so just to take away overall final prediction on kind of what I think the biggest positive and negatives are. I think they have some depth. I think the Gophers have multiple guys that can lead them in scoring on a given night. I think they have good size at the wing. I think they have physicality at the guard. My concern, again, post interior, post defense, rim protection, and probably a little bit of athleticism on the wing. So overall, I mean, I don't know that this scrimmage changed my view too much on Minnesota. I have them probably about 15-16 overall. I think the Big Ten is a gauntlet. I just walked through the schedule, and I know last year they won at USC and UCLA, beat Oregon and Michigan at home. They had some wins where you just were really surprised, and they gutted those out. Kudos to Ben Johnson and the team last year. I just have a hard time looking at some of these games and figuring out a way that they will get it done. So I got them at probably 6-14 in the Big Ten. I could be off there. I do think Medved's a really good coach, and I think they will win games because of that. Whereas in years past, it felt like maybe that wasn't always the case. I do think they will beat either Iowa or Wisconsin this year. So for bragging rights across the border, I know a lot of fans are getting sick of how those rivalries are going, but I do think they will get one of those two teams. I know there's a lot of excitement for Wisconsin this year, John Blackwell and Nolan Winter, but I wouldn't say that their roster is as intimidating as it has been sometimes in years past. And I was in, they got Ben McCollum and Bennett Sturts coming over from Drake, and they have, kind of a full roster makeover too. You never know how those things are going to go. Bottom line, watching the scrimmage is we won't really know much until the end of November. The Gophers play Missouri, San Francisco at neutral site. They have Stanford, and then they play either Santa Clara or St. Louis out in Palm Springs around Thanksgiving. So until those games happen, I don't know that we're going to know a whole lot about this team. But that's what makes the journey fun. That's what makes watching the evolution of the game fun. How you are in November isn't necessarily what you're like in February. And so there's a process, there's a journey that goes on, there's development, there's things that change, there's injuries. And that's what makes the basketball a great sport, a great watch, and super intriguing from start to finish. So that's my takeaway from the Maroon and Gold scrimmage from the Minnesota Golden Gophers and Niko Medved's first season. And plenty more to come. We'll have a Big Ten preview coming soon, and we'll talk about all the Big Ten, where the Gophers might finish, and who is likely to come out of that league on top. All right, so I want to finish today with a little more fun segment. We're just talking great takes on the food scene at basketball games, whether it's a high school game, whether it's a college game, NBA game. So I needed some help. I solicited help from 3 young food experts, my son and 2 of his buddies, who were kind enough to join me at the Gopher basketball scrimmage. I know that, and I hope all of you love the parts of the game, like the sights and the sounds, like the swish of the net, the squeaking of the shoes, even like the smell in the gym, like the popcorn and the intensity. You can just get that, right? I wanted to share some of my thoughts on best food, but I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. But first, I want to kick it over to my middle school experts to hear what they had to say about what's their go-to food items at a basketball game.
All right, we just left the Maroon and Gold Gopher basketball scrimmage from Williams Arena. Got some hot takes. First of all, to prepare everyone for the upcoming season, we wanted to get a look at preferred concession stand food, whether it's Williams Arena or at whatever gym you're going to. So we got, I brought my son and 2 of his buddies. They're going to give you their tips, their preferred options. So let's start with hot food. Hot food, concession stand, basketball game, go.
Pretzel with cheese is the best. Hot dog. I like pizza.
All right, so what kind of hot dog? What do you put on it?
Mustard. Mustard.
And what kind of pizza do we do?
Sausage.
Ooh, sausage. Strong choice. All right, so that's, you get to a game, maybe it's 6 o'clock, maybe you didn't have dinner, that's 6, 7. That's what you get, but gotta wash it down. I think I know everyone's preferred beverage at a basketball game.
Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper.
All right, 3 unanimous choices for Dr. Pepper. I'm more probably water, cherry Coke, Coke Zero, one of those two for me as well. All right, so candy. I know you guys like a lot of candy. We crushed some candy today. Best candy option to eat at a basketball game?
Skittles. Milk Duds.
Milk Duds. Yeah. All right. Kit Kat. Kit Kat's another choice. All right. For me, it's peanut M&Ms. I'm a big peanut M&Ms guy, but a lot of sugar, a lot of kind of the fruitier candy for these guys. No gummy clusters.
Oh, yeah, gummy clusters. No.
Skittles. Are you guys Skittles guys?
Yeah, they taste like.
They taste like the rainbow.
All right. What else? What else do we? Oh, cold things like I know some of you guys like ice cream. What do you got for like a dessert type of option?
Cookie dough Dippin' Dots. 6, 7.
Probably just like a ice cream cone.
Ice cream cone, cookie dough, and Rocky Road.
Who wanted the warm chocolate chip cookie?
Me. And me.
All right, so warm chocolate chip cookie if it's available. A little tougher to find, but that's along with Dippin' Dots are strong choices. All right, so let's pivot to the actual game or the scrimmage that we saw today. I want hot takes. What did you guys think? What did you think of the Gophers? Who stood out?
Chancey Willis and Jalen Crocker Johnson, because Chancey Willis is really shifty.
Yeah, Chancey Willis in the first quarter had a really flashy layup, so.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. And one like 360 something. Chancey Willis.
All right.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Any of the big guys stand out? Any of the big, got Robert Vihola, you got some new guys, Nehemiah Turner.
Number 10 shot pretty good.
Number 10, Cade Tyson.
I think Robert did okay.
Yeah, he's going to need to rebound really well for him. All right, what else? Any predictions on record? I can't offhand remember how many games they have, but let's say 30 games? Okay. All right, what do you think?
I'd say 16 and 14.
Okay.
And maybe even like better, like 19 and 11 maybe.
Okay.
I think 18 and 12 is my final prediction.
All right.
21 and 9.
Ooh, 21 and 9. All right, feeling positivity. How about in the Big Ten? There's 18 teams in the Big Ten. Where do they finish?
We're gonna
finish like 6th.
No. We're gonna finish like 13th. We're gonna finish like 18th because we're the best team.
That would be the not the best team would be 18th, but that's all right. All right. So some hopefully helpful information, some maybe just giggle-inducing information from these guys. But hey, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming to the scrimmage with me.
I like pickles.
Really appreciate those guys coming through for me and providing their thoughts on it. From my list, I got to say I'm kind of with my son Jack on the pretzel and cheese. Although if I don't get a meal in before a game and I'm there and I'm hungry, I might get a taco in a bag, or maybe like if it's a legit nachos, not just chips and cheese, but like nachos with jalapenos and all the good toppings. Just kind of depends on the arena. For beverage, it's a Castle Danger cream ale. If it's not light beer, but otherwise I'm a water, or if there's a Coke Zero option, I usually would go with that. Cherry Coke Zero is ideal, but generally that's not available. So then the other option I always tend to go to is popcorn. Just simplicity, classic, saltiness. Obviously different gyms have different levels of popcorn game, but I would say that that's one of my go-tos to snack on at a game. Not a huge sweets person at a game, but I thought the boys bringing up a warm chocolate chip cookie was on point, because that is, there's nothing quite as good as that. Although that's more of a rarity. So I would say if I had to get something sweet at a basketball game, it's going to be pita and M&Ms. We heard pizza, we heard hot dogs. I know some places, like, bigger arenas might serve hamburgers and, chicken tenders. I was shocked the kids did not go with chicken tenders, because that's usually a go-to. But they didn't go with chicken tenders, so kudos to them for switching it up. It's all about that experience, right? You're at a ball game, just enjoying the experience, enjoying the sounds, the sights, getting some of your go-to food to enjoy that experience. By the way, if you haven't heard of the Twin Cities Hoop Czar, I've been following him for many years. He's been on the local basketball scene in the Twin Cities. He is a great follow for high school hoops, whether it's on Twitter or his website. I think it's tchoops.blogspot. But he does a great job of previewing sections and teams and kind of giving you the lowdown. And I love that he always talks concessions too, because, that is part of it, right? Like, hey, this gym's got a great whatever, like, that's one of your favorites, like, get over and watch a game, catch some high school hoops, and enjoy some good eats from the local volunteers who are helping out with the concessions. All right, that's it for today's episode. I appreciate you listening and hanging out. Thanks to my special guests, my son Jack and his bras, for their insights and knowledge. We'll see you next time. This has been the Splash City Basketball Podcast.
Back in that bag again. Whoa, yeah.